preparation for this video from outside the Garda Barracks here in Dundalk has been one of the most difficult to prepare for, because of all the 600 videos, lives and podcasts we have created. The preparation and the work we have looked into has been very, very difficult to stomach. Why? Because the depths of depravity the people inside this building went to, the likes of Pat Murray, Mark Phillips, Jim McCovern, Garrett Kenna and Paul Gill and the rest of the investigation team. What they have done to Aaron and to our family makes us physically sick. And indeed, as many of our followers and the trolls on the campaign say we don't possibly sometimes show respect for Adrian, of course we're showing respect for Adrian, unlike his friends and colleagues in this building here. Here is where the false narrative was manufactured. Here is where the evidence was tampered with. And here is where the lies were prepared. We are now just going to catalogue a small sample, and you must understand this, a very small sample of some of the illegal activities that was undertaken in this building. And we have to understand the lies and the misinformation created in this building was then weaponised against Aaron and ourselves in the mainstream media. And of course, those lies and fabrications were peddled in the court by the DPP, the Irish State, and of course that was led by Brendan Graham, Senior Counsel, and his lapdog, Lorcan Stain, Junior Counsel. So this is the origin of the framing of our son, Aaron. So let's begin. We're going to focus predominantly on the manipulation of witnesses and how they were coerced and forced into giving false statements against Aaron. How immigration status was ignored, criminal records was ignored, and how all this and so much information was withheld from Aaron's defence team. And of course, as the girls will tell you, and as we will show, everything is backed up with paperwork, documentation, and indeed the actual video evidence of the interviews themselves. So we're going to start with Caroline. She's going to break down Mark Phillips and Jim McGovern and Paul Gill's involvement and taking of the statement with Daniel Cahill, the man that was known as the Star Witness. That is the label he was given by the Irish authorities and the Irish mainstream media, and how this criminal, drug dealer, terrorist, paedophile apologist was allowed and lauded to be that star witness, and how he was shamelessly presented to the Irish state and to the Irish public as the main witness to frame our son, Aaron.
Who is Daniel Cahill? Daniel Cahill was paraded as the star witness against Aaron. He was instrumental in the false case that framed our son. From the beginning, we were told circumstantial evidence was very, very weak. The prosecution themselves admitted it. The prosecution themselves really did admit it. The case relied almost entirely on words of people like Daniel Cahill, people claiming that Aaron had supposedly confessed to them. And here is the proof. Daniel Cahill was heralded as the main witness in the case against Aaron. His statements became the centrepiece of the prosecution, built on lies, omissions and manipulation. Without Daniel Cahill's statement, there would be absolutely no case. And this is why his role in this terrible miscarriage of justice cannot be ignored.
Another witness to give evidence from New York was Daniel Cahill.
So Daniel Cahill probably is the key prosecution witness. Over 3 days he was in the witness box, or certainly given evidence via video link. 1 day was his evidence in chief, and 2 days under robust cross-examination from the defence.
Daniel Cahill was a bartender in New York, originally from Dublin, moved there in 2013, and he was working at a bar called the Coachman's.
This is what the media and the Irish authorities told us about Daniel Cahill. Now, let's just have a look at the truth behind this man. He is a criminal, an illegal immigrant, a drug dealer, a drug user, and a paedophile apologist. We will run through just some of the information that An Garda Síochána deliberately withheld from Aaron's defence team, from the court, from the jury, and from the Irish public.
The first and most important point is Cahill's very suitability as a witness. That collapses the moment you see the background of Daniel Cahill. Between 2012 and 2013, Daniel Cahill was stabbed multiple times and effectively banished from Dublin because of his involvement in very serious criminal elements in the city. Now, there are photographs of Cahill with the Ryan brothers and members of the real IRA. These associations were hidden. Not one word of this was disclosed to Aaron's defence. Here is Daniel Cahill admitting to his stabbing and also the apologetic media coverage by Patrick O'Connell.
There's a chef, but just the neighbourhood I was in, man, I got into trouble. And I'm like, I'm hanging out with all the wrong people. I'm fucking around like crazy. I never missed a day at work. I'm like hanging out with people who are like involved in crime. I'm not myself committing crime, but I'm definitely like around it, like a ridiculous amount to a very high stakes, to the point where none of these people are alive anymore. And the ones who are, they're in jail. So I'm like, I'm living this life. I'm going to a hair salon every day. And at night I'm hanging around with these dudes who are like definitely, you know, putting a spewed view on criminality in my eyes. You know, or they didn't call it criminality because they didn't view themselves as criminals. But a very spewed view. So I'm like very taken back by it. And I'm also being essentially groomed to an extent. At a certain point, shit hits the fan with these guys. They get into like a feud with a lot of other people. Man, I get stabbed. I get stabbed in the arm, get stabbed in the leg, get stabbed in the hand, get stabbed in the side. I'm sitting outside my cousin's house in a car, and I pull up to my cousin's house. Some dude pulled up, jumped out of a car around the corner, ran up with a mask on, opened the car, stabbed me a heap of times. Right? Next thing you know, I'm like, okay, what am I doing with my life? I have to reassess everything. I'm like, okay, like I still always wanted to be a chef. I still always wanted to be involved with what I was in. But right now, I'm part of a lifestyle and a group of people that I can't associate myself with. Thank God I was so young that I knew. My mother got me out. My mother was like, you got to go away. Like, you got to go.
Detectives in this building behind me knew about Cahill's history in Dublin, and they withheld this vital info from Aaron's legal counsel. And let's not forget, when Cahill was caught as an illegal immigrant in the US, he should have been deported. By law, he had no right to remain there. But that threat of deportation was the perfect leverage. The reason he gave false statements against my brother Aaron. This is the star witness the state relied upon, a man whose background alone made him completely unsafe, untrustworthy and unfit to give evidence in any case, let alone a capital murder trial.
Perhaps the most disturbing and sickening aspect of Daniel Cahill's involvement in this case lies in the actions of Mark Phillips, superintendent here in Dundalk. When Daniel Cahill was arrested in New York in 2019, he was caught with drugs. Now, we knew about the marijuana, but it was only through a slip-up in the testimony of US Homeland Security Officer Marianne Wade did we learn that he was also caught with steroids in the apartment. This was completely withheld from Aaron's defence team. When questioned about this omission, Mark Phillips denied any knowledge of the steroids. This was a lie. Mark Phillips, you are a liar. He claimed then, went on to change his story, saying that when he flew to New York in September 2019, he was made aware of the steroids. And when he flew home then to Ireland in October 2019, he completely forgot to put this information in his report. Again, Mark Phillips, you are a liar. You are a perjurer, and your omission of this information is again proof that there is nothing but corruption and coercion and collusion at the heart of this whole investigation and case. Instead of being the star witness, Daniel Cahill should be in jail. And instead of being promoted to superintendent, Mark Phillips should be under investigation for his lies and his perjury and his collusion and corruption and involvement in Aaron's case. This is not justice. This is a framing. This is a miscarriage of justice.
We know and are very aware through our own investigations exactly the type of person Daniel Cahill is. And while the next clip we're about to show you is not directly tied to the lordship robbery, the murder, or his false statements, it is vitally important to expose the kind of man the Gardaí are willing to do deals with.
Pizza shop owner. James Alefantis, yes, one of the most powerful people in DC, who just owns a pizzeria. Imagine if
I was
the most powerful people in White Plains.
I'd own a pizzeria.
If you were the most powerful person in White Plains?
Yeah.
You'd own a pizzeria?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I would own
coffee shop.
No, I don't like all the car parks or something. All the parking lots.
Yeah.
Something mad if you're not parking in this thing until I say so.
No, man, you want to own a pizzeria. That way you can put kids in the basement and sell them. Because here's the thing about kids, right? You can only sell a bag of cocaine one time. Right? Yeah.
I've seen it go multiple times.
Yeah, if you sell a bag of weed, that's the bag of weed gone. But if you sell the kid, you still got the kid afterwards. You keep selling it.
You could keep selling it?
Yeah, you can just keep selling that kid. So that's what's up.
This is the importance of that movie that everybody's been going crazy about.
So why not own a pizza shop, right?
Well, you can
rent the basement out.
I don't know.
Sell pizza.
Possibly. I don't know. I don't have the I suppose the dark spark to be able to sell children.
The emails that
I
couldn't do it.
There's a lot of emails. Right?
There are a lot of emails.
This is Daniel Cahill on a public podcast telling his friends about opening a pizza shop where he would keep children in the basement and sell them. His own friends were visibly disgusted and impulsed by his words. Now, let's be clear. We all know people laugh, joke when socialising, but there are lines that no decent human being would ever cross. To joke about exploiting children in the way is vile, depraved, and beyond sickening. And yet, this is the man that Mark Phillips, Paul Gill, Pat Murray, and Jim McGovern presented as a respectable citizen in court. This is a man the prosecution described as coming forward for the sake of Adrian's wife and children. The hypocrisy is staggering. The truth is sickening, and the fact that such a man was ever put forward as the star witness in a capital murder trial shows just how corrupt and rotten this case really is.
On all of our platforms, we have released Daniel Cahill's interviews. First with Paul Gill and Garda Padraig Riley, and the second with Jim McGovern and Paul Gill. These videos have been put out publicly across all of our social media. We have been told that by releasing them, we should have been questioned about their validity. Well, here we are today outside Dundalk Garda Station, as you see behind me, and we have repeatedly offered to meet and speak with any member of an Garda Síochána at any time. Yet we have never once been contacted, either by the Gardaí themselves or any legal representative of the Irish state.
That silence speaks volumes. It shouts from the rooftops. The Justice for Aaron Brady campaign is telling the truth. We are telling the truth. If our narrative could be contradicted in any way, it would have been by now, but it cannot, and this is why nobody will challenge us. We are more than happy to go to court. In fact, we are preparing for it, both civilly and criminally, and we actually are looking forward to getting the opportunity and the chance to argue our points with evidence, with facts. These are all backed. Until then, We continue to expose the corruption, the collusion, and the depths of depravity that lives in the walls of the Dundalk Garda Station.
As we have said numerous times before and has been highlighted in the video clips here in front of Dundalk Garda Station, Daniel Cahill should be in jail. Let's be totally clear about that. There is no ambiguity. That is where Daniel Cahill should be. But yet, Daniel Cahill is still walking the streets of New York free. Yes, you have to hear this to believe it. Daniel Cahill is now running his own business in New York. And as we have said, there are multitudes of how evidence was tampered with in this building. And even the stories on Daniel Cahill, we haven't touched on his machete attack. We haven't touched on some of his involvement in crime in Dublin. So everything we are saying has been catalogued and has been proven. And this, when we talk about Daniel Cahill, we must highlight this man here, Mr. Kerry Bretz. Kerry Bretz was a US immigration lawyer with over 30 years experience. Kerry Bretz gave evidence during the course of Aaron's trial, and he told the court, he told the Irish judicial system, that Daniel Cahill's feet should not have touched the ground. Daniel Cahill should have been on the next available flight out of New York. But that never happened. Why? Because the people in this building behind us that we've told you about, Mark Phillips, Paul Gill, Bobby Ogle, Pat Murray, all these detectives done deals with this criminal, paedophile apologist, illegal immigrant. And they done deals in association with Cahill, but also with US immigration and US immigration administration. So deals were done, and we have the paperwork to show that the American authorities knew all about Cahill and the other criminals who give false statements against Aaron. And so Daniel Cahill, the illegal immigrant, the drug dealer, the machete wielder, the paedophile apologist, still remains in America. And his lies and his false statements are now and have become the primary reason why our son Aaron has been framed and is now incarcerated for 40 years in Portlaoise prison. So the question must be asked to those in this building and their superiors indeed in Phoenix Park. How was this ever allowed to happen? And this is the question you, the Irish public, this is the question the Irish media must ask. How was this allowed to happen? It must be questioned. And let us not forget that this building, in this building is the so-called friends and colleagues of Adrian. And as we have said before, we've always shown the height of respect for Adrian. But what these people have done to his memory is beneath depravity. By their lies, their cowardness and their corruption, they have betrayed Adrian as much as they have betrayed Aaron. These men are cowards. They are the scum of the earth, and for what they have done, we most sincerely, we pray that their conscience will get the better of them.